You may have heard of Charlotte and Emily Bronte, or even their underappreciated sister Anne Bronte, but what about their brother Branwell or their father Patrick? When Elizabeth Gaskell wrote Charlotte Bronte's biography, she had the ability to paint a description of this family and their history. What can we learn from Gaskell's book The Life of Charlotte Bronte about these two forgotten men? Gaskell describes the Bronte's only brother, Patrick Branwell Bronte, as being extremely gifted. He played with his sisters, creating fictional worlds with them. He grew up self-indulgent, but he had a magnetic personality that drew people to him. As to his physical description, Gaskell says that he was very handsome, with a massive forehead, well-set eyes, a nose too good, coarse lines about the mouth. His lips were a handsome shape, loose and thick. His hair and complexion was very sandy. Instead of sending him to school, his father decided to teach him himself. During this time period, he, to paraphrase Gaskell, fell into the wrong crowd. He gained a reputation, and whenever travelers would come into town who needed to be entertained, the bartender would send for him, and he would come to drink and tell stories. Emphasis on the drink. His family thought he was very good at painting, and Gaskell, upon examining his portrait of the family, said that they were very good likenesses, however badly executed. If Branwell had the opportunity, and alas, had but the moral qualities, he might turn out a great painter. When Branwell turned 18, it was time to decide what profession he would go into. There was no denying he was talented and intelligent, and he loved the idea of the mysterious London. So he was to be a pupil at the Royal Academy of Arts. Then, for some unexplained reason, he dropped out of school. When he got home, there were no plans to send him back to school because finances were tight. Branwell was disappointed because he knew that he was supposed to be the one to make a name for the family, either in writing or drawing. He also yearned for the London life again because it encouraged his irregular habits. Branwell had a desire for fame. He wrote a letter to Wordsworth, the poet laureate, with some of his poetry. There is no record of a response, but we have the letter that he wrote to Wordsworth. He also wrote to Coleridge and sent his poems into the Leeds Mercury. Then his sister Anne got him a job as a private tutor, where he subsequently fell in love with the wife of the house. Scandal! Gaskell makes it clear that the woman made the first advances, but who knows? He eventually got fired and went home, lovesick. Quite literally. The Bronte family was now beginning to be ashamed of Branwell and had lost hope for his future. In this time, he began drinking even more, pining over the loss of his love. Then the husband of his love died, and he got very excited. Then he learned if she went to him, she would lose everything in the will. So she never approached him. In addition to drinking, Branwell also took opium. In the words of Gaskell, he took opium because it made him forget more effectually than drink, and besides, it was more portable. Near the end of his life, he began to have fits of delirium, and he slept in his father's room, proclaiming every night that either he or his father would be dead by morning. In the morning, he would come out saying, "The poor old man and I have had a terrible night of it. He does his best, the poor old man, but it's all over with me. It's her fault. It's her fault." Whenever he got money, he would go to the public house and run up debts, and he never took a job again. Branwell got sicker. Gaskell says that she heard from one who was at Branwell's deathbed that he insisted on standing up as he died. After he was dead, they found the letters of the woman he was in love with in his pocket. The description of standing up to die is contradicted by current scholars. Gaskell probably just wanted to make his death a little more poetic. In the Life of Charlotte Bronte, Branwell starts off as a potential hero, the male heir who would make a name for the family with his wonderful talent. He had many of the common habits associated with young men at this time. His life and image disintegrated after an affair with a married woman of fortune. He then drank, took opium, and died.
I'm going to tell you a story about Patrick Bronte, the father of the famous Bronte sisters. Patrick Bronte was a clergyman who was born in Ireland to a family of 10 children. Elizabeth Gaskell observed that he was a striking-looking man above the common height with a nobly shaped head. In his youth, he must have been unusually handsome. Patrick was ambitious from a young age. When he was 16, he opened a public school and kept it up for 5 or 6 years until he had earned enough money to go to Cambridge. From there, he became a clergyman in the town of Haworth in Yorkshire. When Gaskell first met Charlotte Bronte, she wrote a letter to a friend relating rumors of Patrick to be strange and half mad. Gaskell relates in the letter rumors that Patrick, when he was angry, would take his anger out on things rather than people. For example, she writes about a time when he sawed up all of the chairs in his wife's bedroom, or the time that he took the hearth rug, put it in the grate, and set it on fire. At the time, she also said that Patrick had never taught his daughters anything. Gaskell's portrayal of Patrick differed significantly in the Life of Charlotte Bronte, which she wrote after Charlotte, who she had become friends with, died. The different portrayal could be the result of new information replacing Gaskell's trust in rumors, but it is more likely because of an affection for Charlotte, thus not wanting to portray her family poorly. Even in a softened portrayal, Patrick still seems somewhat strange and aloof. He never ate dinner with his family, but occasionally invited them to have tea with him. Patrick may not have educated educated his children in a systematic manner that would have been expected at the time, but he was deeply interested in politics, among other subjects, and provided his children with reading materials and encouraged them to form opinions and discuss political matters. Gaskell relates in both her letter to a friend and her book, The Life of Charlotte Bronte, that after Jane Eyre was published, Charlotte didn't tell her father for 3 months because she was worried about his being disappointed if it wasn't a success. Charlotte told Gaskell, and Gaskell then relates to us what the conversation was with her father when she finally told him.
Papa, I've written a book.
Have you, my dear?
Yes, and I want you to read it.
My dear, I'm afraid it will try my eyes too much.
It's not in manuscript, it's printed.
My dear, you've never thought of the expense it will be. It is almost sure to be a loss, for how can you get a book sold? No one knows you or your name.
But I do not think it will be a loss, nor will you if you will just let me read you a review or two.
Charlotte then sat down and read him some of the reviews and gave him the copy of Jane Eyre that she had intended for him. When he came in to tea, he said, "Girls, do you know Charlotte has been writing a book and it is much better than is likely?" Charlotte spent much of her adult life taking care of her father, who was then quite old. When she died, leaving Patrick as the last living member of the family, Patrick asked Elizabeth Gaskell to write a biography of Charlotte in a letter where he said, "Write a brief account of her life and make remarks on her works. You seem to me the best qualified for doing what I wish should be done."
You know, when your mom tells you what kind of guy you should date, probably not Branwell.
Alright.